That I might do because, especially when I had like neck problems, I was like, it actually is worth it because then you get an actual full bed, like a bed that completely reclines.
Yeah. I've seen the subway posters.
Yeah, that's the one. So that was the one time I paid for it because it was only like less than $200 more, and I was like, my neck was fucked up, and I'm like, I can literally sleep on this thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
But usually the only time I've ever gotten first class is because it was like paid for by someone else, and you're like, this is so amazing. This is the greatest experience ever compared to flying. But then of course you look at what the actual cost is. You're like, I would never in a million years pay this amount for this.
Right.
I just spent the last 20 minutes crying as the guy at the bar.
About what?
I remember it occupied. It's the first time
I was
I've
gonna say,
been
were you the last occupier there today?
I got yelled at for standing on top of the place I performed at. Some janitor was like, you can't stand up there. And I'm like, all right, bud.
I interviewed people there because, at the time I was doing all my interview stuff. So I did one in Zuccotti, one in LA at Occupies.
Okay.
It was so disappointing though because like I really literally went out with the intention of like I'm going to make a funny video supporting this, and half the people I spoke to were like so combative. I'm like, you're making it impossible.
Yeah.
Like if I can't.
The first month was great.
Because I got to Zuccotti right after they all got cleared out, so people were there but not really there. And like literally, it's a comedy video, so I'm there in a tuxedo, with a top hat and a butler, giving people champagne. Be like, I'm a billionaire. Could you please explain to me what all this is? Like the number of people who were there, they're like, hey man, fuck you. I'm like, do you think I'm a real billionaire?
That's funny.
Is that really what you think is happening here?
I would love to talk to you. That's so funny.
A lot of people are cool, but yeah, a lot of people are just like very confusing. Like, how can you not see what?
The first month you should have went. The first month was amazing.
No, yeah, because LA went better because I went there before they got all cleared out. But the biggest problem I had was like I would ask so many people like, just tell me why you're here, and like a lot of people couldn't answer that question.
Yeah, that's why they're mad because they don't know the answer.
Like I was saying, like what brought you here? What brought you here? Yeah, no, some people did. There were guys who immediately started rattling off things like Glass-Steagall Act and shit. Gosh,
right.
Is that too much, the fan?
No, it's perfect.
No, that's great. That's great.
We do not care about the sound.
No, that's great.
At all.
Okay. I'll turn the fan up then. All right, I'll turn the fan up then.
No, that's great. That's perfect.
That's perfect?
Right, so
Okay.
the creme brulee so far is my favorite.
Yeah, definitely fan as high as you want. You know.
Yeah, the creme brulee is from yeah.
We will accept the sound difference.
Yeah, I like the way they get the flavor of the burnt top.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a superb job they've done on that donut.
This one's good too.
Good.
Almost as good as laying down in a flatbed first class.
Hey, let's open up by talking about Occupy.
Fair.
If you want.
Well, I like talking about it because
It really
it was something that
I had a whole flashback. Like I pictured all the cardboard cutouts and the library and the drum circle and like I saw all of it while I stood there. It was fucking beautiful.
It was something I really wanted.
Now it looks like the Matrix, like where it's just, oh, look at the girl in the red dress.
I was really upset with how Occupy played out.
I agree.
I think it really squandered an opportunity.
I agree, but it made me change. It made me
Kick
change
this
my
thing
thoughts
off
about
and we
the
can
team.
start talking about it?
Yeah, let's talk.
Okay.
Let's talk.
Yeah.
Alright. Caleb, what do we need us to do?
I might take my pants off.
Do it.
Because I got asked.
Wendy's got singles.
Airplane mode.
Not anymore.
Everybody's in airplane mode.
Airplane mode.
Put their phone on airplane.
And even nobody has an iWatch or anything, right? That sets it off too.
Yeah, everyone, you gotta make sure because otherwise we'll mix that fun.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I would love if Tim was like, I was crying over the Occupy thing. Oh, I do have an iWatch. Hold on. Let me turn off my Apple Watch.
I thought the matcha was good.
I felt healthy eating that. Any
You guys are
answer
okay
is
with my
right.
pants off, right?
Yep.
I have boxers on. It's not a big deal. I'm realizing right now.
I think I can control myself, Dave. It's fine.
I don't think you're gonna get aggressive. I just think I'm trying to be polite.
I think you're the first person to take their pants off in here.
I mean, this early, maybe, but I'm like, I remember how hot
I
this
really
gets. and
really thought it was a joke, and now this is
Apparently it is not.
great. No.
I gotta tell you,
What'd you get?
honestly, it really helps.
Two-hearted ale?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. I'm giving blowjobs for sodas. Dave's got his pants off. It's gonna be a great show.
I'm crying at Occupy.
I literally can't explain how much better this is.
I'm eating donuts.
You don't have to. I'm wearing a dress. Obviously, pants are the.
The only reason
fucking
my
worst.
shirt is on is because we're on camera. All right.
He is in his boxers.
I mean, they're boxer briefs. You really couldn't get more like.
This is Brendan Walsh when he was at California University doing the news.
Oh, did he with pants
Yeah, he
off?
wore boxers. Yeah,
Oh, good for him.
I know way too much about that show.
Okay, so you
And we don't
want
need
to start?
talk about that.
you guys want to start?
Please keep us on track.
Okay,
We can't do it ourselves.
Yeah, let's go.
All
Come
right,
on.
so I'll start recording. We'll do 10 seconds of silence, and
Okay.
then
Yeah.
I'll play your intro, and then I'll point to you when you're supposed to start talking.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Cal.
You can hear my mic, right?
Yes.
'Cause I can't.
I can hear you.
I'll fix
Okay,
it.
good. No, it's okay.
Are
I
your
don't need to-
headphones low?
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Now I can hear.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
yeah, your headphones are low, but your mic is fine.
Your headphones are here.
Mhm.
This is your headphone volume. Yours is probably pretty loud right now. Lower.
No, they were super loud.
You want like that, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, perfect. Thank God there's a man here.
Oh my God! How do we turn the knobby thingies?
Hold on, let me take off my pants and then I'll show you.
Okay.
Okay. All right, everybody. I'll start recording. Silence.
We need 10 seconds
Yeah.
of silence,
Yeah.
people.
I know it's hard, but we'll do it.
What's up, guys?
I love you.
Just because I'm the only one with the willingness.
All right, that's good.
That's
Hey guys, welcome to Blamestorming. I'm Marissa Smith. I've got a pantsless Dave Cyrus with me.
Hey.
Joining us today is Wendy Starling
how's it going?
and Tim Warner.
Say hi, Tim.
Hey, how? That's the best I can do right now.
I'm sorry, Tim. You're too punk to be this freaked out about my pants being
I'm
hot.
not freaked
Yeah.
out. It's just it's so
It's
great.
It's hot in here.
Like
This
with
is-
donuts, it's great.
So, like, even the people watching the video, they probably cannot see, but Dave opted to go pantsless today. Dave, do you want to tell people about your pantsless decision?
Yeah, it seems like a pretty obvious one. It's too hot in here. We're in a very nice studio, yet it is. Yet what we have.
But you're going to put
Well,
your
there's-
drawers on the seats
there's
because
a
we're in a
s-
very nice studio.
Yeah, well, that is really not my decision. The decision was made by whoever's office in this building actually controls the thermostat, and he feels that his office has too much. He has too much cold compared to the rest of it. So all the other offices are extremely hot because one guy who is in control of it has like I don't know, an iron problem or something. That's really what's happening here.
Yeah.
It's really hard to explain how much hotter this room is than it should be for a building like this.
No,
So
it is hot.
I can't really do the show like wearing full clothes. And I kept the shirt on because, we're on camera. And I don't mind people seeing my legs. But I feel like it'd be rude if I was shirtless.
Right, it's rude because then people, instead of listening, will just be masturbating.
Yeah, they're just going to be jacking off to Dave's chest. So, Dave, how have you been? You've been away for a while.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was in LA a little bit, and it was in Syracuse, where I come from, where I went to college, which was cool. Hanging out on some movie set I'm barely involved with, just because I got work to do, and then I went to the taping of the Roast Battle TV show that I was not involved in, but then was slightly involved in because I was writing jokes for somebody in it. So that'll be out soon. You can see me there. On my phone the whole
Was
time.
that the Bruce Willis roast?
The Roast Battle show.
Oh, the roast battle show.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I was at the Roast Battle finale taping because I was doing a little work on that. And if you watch, you can literally see me in the audience not watching the show because I'm texting about the show in live because everything's happening. I got rebuttals and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You're my favorite person because as long as I've known you, you're always doing really cool shit. And a lot of it is your own projects, but then sometimes it's you're doing really cool shit. It's how'd you get there? I just knew somebody and I happened to be there.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, yeah, with this one, I was up for the show and I did not get it. So the Roast Battle TV show. So then, they asked a friend of mine to do something on it. They asked Pete to judge. So I went with him. That was cool. And I'm of course, especially with roast related stuff. I usually pretty much everything we write together. So I was there to just support and ghostwrite as usual.
Yeah. Just they're like, if you could sit right in the main shot of a camera, and that's if you could do your rebuttals from there, that'd be great.
Well, what happened was they did put me in the main shot, and then they were like, and I was like, okay, just so you know, I'm gonna be on my phone the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well then you can't be on your phone. You're like literally one of the main audience people that we're gonna see. And I was like, well, put me where I can be on my phone.
Right. You're like,
Yeah.
because I am working.
So you can still kind of see me, especially because we're like looking at each other the whole time. But yeah, it's basically us just like workshopping jokes in the moment and like to see what he would say. I sat next to Morgan Murphy. That was cool.
Ooh, she's so funny.
She was like always my go-to example of when people say women aren't funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's amazing.
She's so funny and good hair on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just a giant mane of what I would consider Jew hair. I don't think she's Jewish, but still, that's what it is.
Yeah. I'm not Jewish, and I got Jew hair. It gets curly and it gets puffy, and I get told that I have Jew hair all the time. All the time, I should say. All the time. What are you, Jewish? Your hair's all Jewed up.
Mm-hmm.
So, Wendy, how have you been?
Great. I'm all jacked up on these donuts. Thank you for bringing donuts.
Yeah, I've had such a hard time figuring out a snack for this because, like, you guys have been, like, to Big Talk Brewski, so I bring beer to that. And I'm a big proponent of bringing snacks to the podcast. And this show has been a challenge, but, like, I know the two of you, so, like, I knew I could trust you with snacks. Because, like, I've tried so many things. Cupcakes, but, like, nobody ate the cupcakes, so then I end up going home with cupcakes. I'm like, I can't eat 3 cupcakes in a week. Like, that's too much. Then I tried cookies, but one of the comics, like, bit the cookie.
Rob Ryan took the first cookie out of the sleeve, bit half of it, and put it back in the sleeve, and now we can't have cookies anymore.
Who is this?
Rob Ryan.
He ruined cookies for the show.
He claimed to be completely unaware that he was doing it, which I'd like to believe. Otherwise, he's a much worse person.
But he doesn't do drugs or drink, so...
That's why, yeah.
I like, how do you not know that you just bit a cookie and put it back in the sleeve?
Yeah, but I also am currently on a break from drugs and alcohol, and I know when I'm being a cunt and, like, putting, biting, like, licking food and putting it back in because it's in a plastic. What kind of cookies were they?
I'm so glad you said break and not quit.
Yeah.
That's great.
I got them from, what is that pastry shop, like Financier or Bakery or whatever?
That is my favorite bakery because it's just like, we sell baked goods, but we're for rich people.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not like a bakery name, the Financier.
Yeah. So, like, I got, like, chocolate chip cookies from there. And I wasn't going to name him, but Rob ruined it. Rob ruined it. Then I brought in the bark thins, which are those, like, chocolates that, like, and so I thought...
Well, those are great, but, like, it takes, like, weeks to get through a bag of those. Like,
that's not even the problem. The problem is that one of our guests, I went to the bathroom with her. After we went to the bathroom, she washed her hands. She took paper towels, then wiped her armpits with the paper towels, did not wash her hands after wiping her armpits, and then went back into the bark thins, which ruined the bark thins for the show.
Well, and with a bag snack like that, not to be the mom of this operation, you don't dig your fucking hands in, you dump it out, like you dump it out of the bag.
No, after armpit wipe, she went straight in after not even wiping the hand, and I'm like, well, this is done for her bag snacks.
And it's really funny because I don't know this story, but just thinking of every guest we have, I'm 100% sure which one of them was a woman who would do that. I'm not going to say it, that'd be meaner.
Okay.
It was Rob Ryan.
Yeah, so then that ruined it. But then when you guys came in, I'm like, oh, people I know and trust, I can bring snacks.
Yes, and we've all been sharing.
And we've been cutting and sharing, and no one's cross-contaminating anything.
I gave some to Caleb.
You know, like, this is why I booked you guys, because I can trust you with snacks.
Thank you.
So, Tim, how have you been?
Phenomenal.
Tim was just in Zuccotti Park, brought up a lot of memories.
Yeah, crying for 20 minutes.
Now, you actually performed at Occupy.
Yeah, day 5.
How'd you get that?
I was asked by, there were 3 gentlemen who wrote the Constitution for Occupy. One of them seen me perform and loved what I did. So they called my girlfriend at the time to find me to come down to Zuccotti, and I had no clue what they were doing. I was like, Zuccotti, why the hell would I go? I never heard of it. Because I don't come down the financial district. I fucking loathe this area with all my heart. I fucking hate it.
You don't shop at Financier Bakery for all your flying baked goods and eats?
Not at all.
Only for the chocolate chip cookies.
Not at all. I get my chocolate chip cookies from work for free. Yeah, so then I came down here, I performed, and then I fell in love with just the idea. And then I hung out the whole time, basically, until the end.
Yeah, there was an ignominious end. And Occupy was the thing to me where, like, I was very upsetting because it seemed like a great opportunity where we really could have had some kind of concrete change
100%.
that got kind of ruined by just
People.
It got ruined by people, and it really showed us a real-world example of why a complete lack of elitism doesn't work.
Yeah, but it did show me, like, for example, before that, there was the Tea Party movement that happened. And when you watch the Tea Party movement on the news and whatever else, they would show all the fucking weirdos and whatever else, and it's like, oh, fuck the Tea Party. And then you go down to Zuccotti, and I'd watch, like, Fox News or CBS, whatever, and they would be taping people, and they'd be taping the dumbest, weirdest, I don't even want to say eccentric because that makes them sound good, but, like, all the dummies of Occupy they were taping and filming,
Right.
and then that makes it look like, so then it made me wonder about the Tea Party, where it was like, could this have maybe been a good idea?
The Tea Party had official stances that were disgusting.
So,
They
yes,
did have official, their beliefs that they actually delineated were things you should be against.
yes.
The thing with Zuccotti was, it was both true and untrue. Yes, the news was specifically going there, especially Fox News was going there with the express purpose of find me the craziest asshole there
100%.
and make him a representation of it.
Yes.
At the same time, as Occupy continued, it did attract all the crazy people simply because it was an event. And it was one of those things where, do you really blame the initial people for the fact that it attracted every homeless person, every mental patient? Because it's just a thing. It's a thing to go to. And what ruined it...
Well, dude, cops were also dropping off people.
Oh, yeah?
Rikers.
That's
they were
fine.
dropping them off at Zuccotti.
Well, that doesn't help either.
There was a little mix and match with that. I
But
mean, yes, there were the weirdos that came on their own, but there's also authorities that brought weirdos as well.
Oh, sure. But at the same time, I mean, I was basically saying that you can't blame the movement itself for the fact that it's going to attract weird people.
Mhm.
Because anything like that, any event would have attracted some of those people.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a thing where, and what happened to Occupy that was really sad was as more and more people came there because of the event itself and not because of the reason it existed,
100%.
talking about economic change, it became less about economic change and about the right to live in a park forever.
Right.
And that was a perversion of the reason to be there. And that, I think, really threw away... Like, if they had said, we will leave when Congress reverses Citizens United, it probably would have happened. They probably could have gotten that. They could have gotten Citizens United overturned.
They didn't want any leadership. Like, no one wanted
Right.
to, like...
The hatred of leadership meant that nothing was going to happen.
My
Right.
my biggest thing was the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, and it was at a time when I think it was like a year before, where it was like 100 years after the fact. If we could reverse the Federal Reserve Act and then make the Federal Reserve a part of the government where they would at least have to answer. I'm not saying things would get better, but you could at least be able to charge them with things, be able to have them. That was that was my biggest thing.
And unfortunately, the movement, there was literally not one demand that they could agree on. That was what was very sad about it, because what we were seeing was this, and it's like I said, you can't blame a movement on its worst examples, but when you don't have leadership, that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
You're going to give just as much voice to the worst person there as the most qualified to talk about it, and and it got very frustrating because everyone I talked to when I was interviewing people at both the LA and New York Occupies, everyone wanted to talk about the right to be there. Very few people like you wanted to act, like some people they were talking about the Fairness Doctrine and the Glass-Steagall Act, and they were actually talking about real things.
Yep.
But most of the people I talked to, and I was trying to give them a voice, to just say, this is not just crazy people. Even if they are crazy people, some of them know what they're talking about. Just because they're wearing a cape and a helmet
doesn't mean that you're stupid.
Well, I mean by crazy, I mean just because you're walking around in a cape and a helmet because you're like, oh, this is a fun thing to do, and you're playing hacky sack, doesn't mean you don't know actually why you're here.
Right.
But I kept asking people, it kept being about, we have a right to be here, and I'm like, but that's not what this is about.
Yeah.
And and someone else saying, well, we're showing that you can have a society without a monetary system. I'm like, okay, go fuck yourself. If you're trying to make that into this, then you're going to live off fucking donations forever?
Yeah.
As they're wearing Nikes and Levi's and smoking Marlboros, and
Right.
they're saying we can't live in a
When they
monetary fuck you.
When they started
that
saying,
was the thing with me.
when they started saying we're just going to make Zuccotti Park a permanent settlement, I was like, you just threw away the entire world's goodwill toward this, and with the potential to do something with it. And you threw it away on your own selfish desires to live in the park forever. By making it about we're going to be here forever, and when they start putting military tents and just saying we're going to take this, let's be fair, private property, and say it's ours, you screwed over everyone. And I said to people, they were like, well, I believe that, this movement is important enough that we should suspend the private property rules of Zuccotti Park. I was like, okay, I'm not going to deny that. This one park isn't more important than getting this message out. But then I said to the person, I was like, okay, so you have people living there right now, right? And you're saying you want to ignore the property rights. What if I went there and I said and I picked a spot that someone was already living on and said, I live here now? Why would they get property rights?
Right.
Why would they be given a right you're not willing to give someone else? When people say we want a public land, it just wasn't thought through.
And we blame the people.
Right. Yeah. But with the library was a good example of something. Yeah, they had a library, which was great. Yes. But then they cleared out the place. And no one took the library because no one had the infrastructure to do so. No one arranged to get a truck to move the books. So they put the books they took the books to the garbage recycling areas, and they said, if you want them, take them, otherwise we're going to throw them out. And people are like, you're book burning. Okay, you just threw away a real argument. It's not book burn. If you leave a book on the sidewalk and they throw it out, that's not what censorship is, you fucking children. And it really destroyed a lot of what Occupy should have done.
Should have, yes. Yeah,
it showed you need leadership. You need structure and leadership, and not be a bunch of goddamn kids and let people make change. When senators came there and said, we've heard you, what can I do to help? What did they do? They said, no. Oh, no. They did not have an answer.
What?
Their answer was, get the fuck out of here. Fuck you. They were children about it. Not everyone, but the problem is, if you let anyone have a voice, the children are going to rise up and ruin it, And that's what Trump is now. Trump is the first movement to be like, no, we want those people in charge.
He's the only child of America.
Yeah. Well, he wants all the children, all the people who shouldn't have a voice, all the people who shouldn't be in charge to reverse, the order of the society.
So, Tim, how long were you at Occupy?
From day 5 until they all swarmed in, and with dump trucks, cops, and SWAT teams and everything else.
So, approximately how long was that?
I want to say 4 months.
It's got to be a long time.
Okay.
Yeah. You lived there?
I did a 3-night stint, like Woodstock.
He's like, no, I'm not an asshole. I went home where I had plumbing.
I don't No, because I did get a lot of shit for that, so I stayed 3 nights.
See, no, even that to me, and to be honest, I didn't pay attention that much, but that seems also counterproductive. If you're going there to help and be there during the day when there are rallies, because if the point is we're trying to make changes, and then for you to be like, hey, I'm going to come here and perform, and then I'm going to help, and then when I go home, I'm going to go home to my place at night, and then when you leave, and they're like, you fucking poser, and it's like,
I got that
so it's this attitude, and that just from what Dave was describing, and it is the leadership thing is crazy. That always drove me crazy. And I know there's a joke that people always say in school. We're like, yeah, we're gonna have to start the meeting, the anarchist club.
Right.
Who knows when the meeting, right? So, but then okay, these are the meetings, and this is the president of it. It's a joke in junior high that you start making. But it's so that's where it makes it more difficult to have a movement because no one's in charge. And then they get real cunty, and it's you're either with us or you're against us. And it's when you start behaving it right now.
And I even had comics that would give clothes and blankets and whatever else, and we came down in a van and we gave shit. I did a lot for them, and then it was just yeah, but have you slept here? And
and those people,
fucking sleep here.
Those are the people.
I've been homeless. It doesn't matter.
Those people are the people who did not care at all about change. This was about them, and this was about Occupy. It was like a microcosm of what happened with a lot of which kind of poisoned our side of politics, of this idea that no one actually wanted things to get better. They just wanted to personally be above a certain number of people, and they start using all these things that were designed to make things better. Lack of racism, calling out things, trying to be better people, and they just made it a game of I'm better than you.
And I'm very glad
all the Rogan fans away from the Democratic Party in doing so.
And I'm very glad that the Instagrams and all of that wasn't as huge. Because it would have been a fucking such a number of selfies of people look at me in my tent and look at I'm so glad it wasn't at that point because it would have been so much worse. But to see it pop up all over the country just from one dumb, simple idea, and to see it in St. Louis and Philadelphia and Syracuse and LA and Seattle and et cetera, even across the pond, whatever else, that to me is pretty fucking amazing.
It was amazing,
but it was a
complete waste.
It's like jerking off on coke.
It was masturbation.
So like, if Tim today,
it was masturbation.
So if Tim today could go back into the future to like Tim sitting in Occupy right now, what would you tell him to tell the people? Like, you know what's down the pike. You know Trump is going to be in office. You know what you're looking at. And you know that they have so much untapped potential that they could actually prevent this. Like, what would you tell them?
Do you realize there's going to have to be bloodshed?
That's a good point. You know.
Like, do you realize? Like, this is great.
If you really want
this, like, if you want this, do you realize there's going to have to be bloodshed?
You can't.
And are you ready for that? It's one thing to sit here in your fucking Levi's and your Nikes and your Marlboros and say, I hate the 1%. But do you realize in order to have it really be for the people again, there is going to have to be bloodshed?
You can't change the world by playing hacky sack in the park. You
I
gotta
agree.
get your hands
I
dirty.
agree.
And I'm not saying we should have a violent revolution, but what the people were there for is something you weren't going to have without that.
Yes.
What the people who were there who were really saying, and I was not saying I wanted that. I wanted small changes. I wanted just a few laws to change that would make more regulation for Wall Street, that would that would make it less of a job to get rich off of, basically being a banker, and get rid of the idea that corporations are people. That would have been the step we could have taken.
Which is so huge in laws now, where corporations are able to allow to vote.
The cascading effect we could have had.
Yes.
By getting rid of that one law, could have been so great.
Huge.
And what I saw,
And I think, again, having the Federal Reserve, granted, I don't think anything would be done, but to be able to have them the same way that Roger Clemens and all of them, when they were on steroids in baseball, they had to go up in front of fucking Congress. The Federal Reserve never gets to go up in front of anyone to go, hey, wait a minute, you're fucking wrong here with your regulations. You're wrong here with, I can't think of words right now.
But there was leniency. There was just
but even printing of money, even you're going to do like housing numbers. You're going to do economy or whatever else. It's all based on whatever you guys say, and you're a separate entity of the government. The only way, my whole thing is, yes, we have freedom, but they tell you it's freedom when you're born, but you're in a prison. We are all slaves. The fact that there is a federal income tax, the fact that our government, in order to get money, we go to the Federal Reserve, we give them bonds. The bonds comes on interest. And in order to pay the interest back, we need them to make more money, which makes more interest, which means we are never going to be out of debt, means we're always, all of us, even the 1%, the 99%, we are all slaves to this idea of forever interest.
Which I'm fine with. I just want a little more regulation.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
I'm actually, you know what? I'll accept that system.
Yeah.
Just have a little more oversight.
Yes.
Right.
And the fact that they can do whatever they want because they're a separate entity, that bothers me. That bothers me that they're separate. And then on top of it, money is just a belief system. Like Trump, there was a thing, I don't know, maybe earlier in the week, the GDP is up 4.1%. That money is just a belief system. So what that says to me is there's no gold standard. There's nothing that it's equated to. So what that says to me is the world and our country believes in Trump more than
it's even worse than
Obama and whoever else.
It's even worse than what you're saying, because what we're actually just seeing is the effect of what happens temporarily when you try to prime the pump on an already well-working economy. Like the concept of overstimulation doesn't exist, but that's because he doesn't care about what actually happens. He cares about how he looks right now, today.
Right.
So the idea that the GDP is up, that's always going to happen when you start being hawkish about the economy at first. But we already had an economy doing well. And by the way, just as a side thing, they constantly talk about the economy. Sarah Sanders today said, she basically admitted that when Trump says fake news, what he really means is, why don't you just only talk about how great he is? And as if it's fake to talk about real things that he did that are negative. But at the same time, these are the people saying, don't talk about the many, many horrible things Trump has done because the economy's doing well. Meanwhile, these are the same people who hated Obama to the point of wanting to have him crucified when he had the greatest economic recovery in world history. And now their answer to that is, in American history, their answer to that is, well, it was also the slowest economic recovery. Are you really going to work that hard to find a way to criticize the straight line upward from Bush to Trump?
It was like a week ago, I put up a dumb post on Facebook. I think we're now at maybe 900 or 899. But at the time, I was like 907 days until Trump, his first term is over. And I had, and then I said, unless the Russians vote for him again.
Right.
Right. Ha ha ha. So then I had a bunch of people write in, and one dude wrote, he does sales. And under Obama, he got, I think, 2% up in sales. But under Trump, he's like 18 to 20%. So now it's a personal thing. It's not necessarily the economy.
Well, actually,
he gave all this credit to Trump and the economy, and it was just, it's such a fucking,
it's a joke.
Such a flawed argument.
Right, because no one else lost a job. Not
right.
Not like everyone who has a job that buys steel from China isn't doing badly.
Thank you. Yeah.
And also, that guy, I actually know who you're talking about. He exclusively sells crosses. The giant wooden one soaked in kerosene.
Right.
So yeah, he's doing great.
I was about to say burning crosses.
No, that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
I had this conversation with my mother, who I love very much. She voted for Trump, but it's like this. We talk about the one where people in their brains are like, "I'm right," and either you're 100% with me. We're talking. She was like, "Well, the economy," and I go, and I stopped. I was on a run, and I stopped, and I started to like scream, cry, and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna try to have a rational conversation."
Right.
And I said, I understand the economy's doing well, but like you said, it's all the emperor's new clothes. When I was in elementary school, they were like, we're going to practice the stock market. And I remember when they were explaining to us, so the Federal Reserve does this, and I remember I was like a little kid, and I'm like, this sounds like a lot of bullshit. And I remember being like, in my mind, I was thinking like, wait, but so if we all don't believe what this guy from the Fed says, then this doesn't actually matter. And the whole class looked at me, and the teacher was like, okay, if you don't want to participate, you got to stop causing problems. So I was kicked out of church. But my mom, she goes, well, and I said, even if, say it is because he's a great businessman, he's good with money. I said, even if those things are all true, I go, he's still, because I was talking about his moral character and how he's a monster. And she's like, well, but the economy. And I'm like, no. But I said, even if he's a phenomenal businessman, and
she's not.
Right, which he's not, because he's gone bankrupt so many times.
Right.
I go, even if that were true, he can still also be a giant piece of trash and have zero morality and be a racist, cunty, asshole, Nazi.
Right.
I'm like, those two things can both be true, but it's so frustrating to try to have a conversation with anybody because they're like, no, it's either all good or it's all bad. And it's the same.
No middle ground.
They just lied and said Obama's economy wasn't good. Meanwhile, we created more new jobs in 2016 than 2017.
Right.
That is a fact. Job growth went up more in 2016 and 2017. Wage growth went down from 2017 to 2016. So that is proof immediately. And it's not that that's saying that's a bad economy. The economy was already doing so good that there weren't that many new jobs you could get overall.
Right.
But the problem was these were the same people saying, look how Trump turned the economy around. And, well, he didn't. The economy is starting to dip comparatively to the previous year. They're liars.
Mm-hmm.
They're people who would say literally anything to avoid being exposed for backing a con man.
I know I'm white, but I've never had a president affect my day.
Yeah.
Never.
Right, and that, exactly. As a white person, we don't have to deal with it on the same level.
But I've never had it. Never. I go about my day. I live my life. I deal with my struggles. I deal with my challenges. I deal with my achievements and whatever else. I've never had them affect my day, ever.
And yet,
ever. Even Clinton, when he raised minimum wage, even now with minimum wage going to be raised to $15, at least in New York City, not in the state, but at least in New York City, that does not affect my day because all the prices go up based on that. Rent still goes up. Cigarettes still go up. All my vices still get raised based on my $15.
There's only one way you can provably show Trump's affecting the economy. Because, of course, if you look at the economy and Trump taking credit for it, he's basically saying, well, if I wasn't president, all the trajectory of the economy under Obama would have, inexplicably and for no reason,
Just
plummeted.
bubbled.
Right.
Not gone in the same exact trajectory it already was. Like every economist in 2015 was saying whoever wins is going to have a windfall of a very positive economy. Everyone knew this was going to happen. He's just a pathological liar. I mean, yeah.
And that's how it happens. If you paid attention in school, I remember learning that when I was a kid, when it was like, I remember it was like Bill Clinton was like the economy and we had to try to rebuild, but it's like, that's not his fault. And just if you have half of a fucking brain, you go, okay, so whatever you start with when you become the president, that's the leftovers of the last person
president.
who was
but only in the beginning. Whereas Bill Clinton had 8 years of extreme recovery.
Right.
So it's really hard to say that he didn't help the economy because at the end of 8 years, we had the best economy we've had. I mean, we were reducing the deficit comparatively.
Internet bubble.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's-
there were some
it's-
bubbles.
I'm not saying it was because of him, but you know what? The internet bubble was because of Al Gore.
Yeah.
And I know people like to think of that as like something horrible to say, but it was called the Gore Bill for a reason.
Right.
The Gore Bill created the internet.
Right.
Yes.
And people who deny that are just ignorant or just lying because it's convenient to
Fake
do so.
news.
Right.
Well,
Well, yeah, Bill Clinton was in there for long enough
People
so that he
believe
was
that-
able to like do his
Right.
own
And
shit.
at the
same
right
with
time.
Obama. Obama was responsible with the economy.
Mhm.
There's only
It's
one
like Jordan
example.
in the NBA. Him coming in at 84 was the perfect time. He
Yeah.
comes in 2 years later, 2 years before. He is not the Jordan we know now. Clinton came in at the perfect time.
There's only one current example of a president provably and objectively affecting the economy or some kind of price, and that is the fact that gas went up because Trump pulled out of the Iran deal. We were buying oil from Iran, now we're not, so gas costs more. Plain and simple. The only people,
Also the
the only person who
tariffs.
benefits from that is Saudi Arabia and Russia.
The tariffs are also.
But we haven't seen an exact effect in the economy yet for that. These are all things that are so complicated that it's very hard to nail down. But the gas thing is unquestionable.
Right.
Gas went up because we got one less supplier.
Dude, I love you. I love you right now with pants off. I would love to see you do
Well,
comedy
he
with
doesn't have
pants off.
shoes on either.
Yeah, I would. I love your confidence
I
right
didn't
now.
get
It's
my
so
pants
great.
off.
It's so great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No,
Love
but
it.
I think with the tariffs, like definitely I've seen certain goods, and I'm like, and you know, my day job, I'm in a manufacturing environment, so like, I know that a lot of our raw materials have already gone up, and you know, these next few seasons are probably going to be more expensive because of the tariffs. Like even things that I buy certain things like personally from manufacturers in China, and things that I bought 6 months ago are already like maybe 15-20% more expensive
Oh,
than they were
really?
6 months ago.
And you know
Yeah.
what blunts the people who are paying more for those products? You know what makes them feel better about that? Deep down, the people who are supportive of this administration, what they're really saying is, well, yeah, those products cost more, but they are dirty Chinese products. Like he's made all trade partners enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And that we're supposed to be happy
A
that
girl likes custom hair, and if we did it in America cheaper,
Oh, is that what I was going to ask?
Yeah.
Which product it was?
Yeah,
specifically
yeah.
Where you've noticed it?
yeah, no, it's hair. It's hair.
I only buy American flags made in America, so the tariffs I haven't noticed. I'm dressed in an American flag. I buy them. They're all made in Vermont, and I put them on as clothes.
You know, I like custom color. I like custom. You know, I'm a big girl. I gotta have big girl hair. Not buying this off the rack shit.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great. That's hilarious to me.
yeah, I think
Dave's like, I'm gonna move this along. But now I have a
you mean
question.
not
Dave.
concentrate on black girls' hair? Is that
Oh, you always had to squeeze it in. So now, Dave.
did you not say you were black during that whole thing? You
No,
said,
I just said I got custom hair. I didn't specifically say I was black.
I think
can be-
people figured it out from the fact you had to buy your hair.
white girls buy hair.
Name one.
Any white girl that has long hair.
I bought wigs, but it was never custom hair. But I got like nice wigs.
Right, but like, I mean, have you ever gotten extensions?
No.
Yeah,
Like-
exactly. What white girl do you know with extensions?
Cat
And,
Reinhardt.
literally-
Lots of white girls. I just
like,
my friend just got 'em.
yeah, seriously, like a lot of white
Lots
girls.
of white girls get it.
And
And it's not just about the color of your skin. Sometimes it's about the disease in your cells. If you have cancer, you also need to get good hair.
right.
These
That's wigs.
boys.
We're talking about extensions.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just-
but like literally like actresses and like performers, they all have extensions.
I know.
I'm sure you know people personally that have extensions that are not sitting in this room. But
She's alluding
Rob
to my,
Ryan.
Yeah, she's alluding
Fucking Rob Ryan.
to my most famous friends.
In here
Yeah.
swinging his ponytail around.
Exactly.
Oh, what's the question?
Okay,
What are your
so now Dave,
Yeah.
my question would be is that would you say that these new what are they, anons in the Trump world now, that they're equal to the crazies
I mean,
of Zuccotti?
QAnons?
Yeah, QAnons.
Oh no! I would never ever assign people in Occupy. I think Occupy, most people were very well meaning, and I think that there were. When I say crazy people, I mean that those were like every city has them, and they just are going to go to whatever the big thing going on is. QAnons are a very specifically dangerous subset of the mentally ill, which is conspiracy theorists that focus on that believe in that the Alex Jones side, they're basically just InfoWars, except that a lot of them think that Alex Jones is a CIA operative. As when I interviewed guys like Rooster,
Shit.
What?
I'm in trouble.
when Rooster was the creator of the Boston bombing conspiracy, and I asked him about Alex Jones, and he thought Alex Jones was a, quote, proven CIA operative. So I think QAnon, what we're seeing is
Yeah, it's like
who
See, I'm in
believe
trouble.
people who believe in conspiracy theories that are so obviously created by right-wing propaganda creators that it's such sadly simplistic that it's designed to say, well, look, there's a lot of poor white people out there, and the culture wars are being lost. We can't get them to vote against their own against their own self-interest based on homophobia and racism as much anymore. So now we need to just convince them that Democrats have child sex rings and in pizza places, and that I mean, have you seen what QAnon actually believe?
Well, I know
It's like Roseanne.
it's like an extension of the Pizzagate people.
Yeah.
And they think that various actors and politicians are all pedophiles.
The ones who criticize Trump, yes.
Right.
Ones who criticize the Republican Party.
And they believe, I think that there was they think that there's some facility in like Arizona that is like some sort of like
And it's all
pedophilia ring or
because
something.
one sad basement dwelling nobody just told them, I work for the government and I'm going to give you all hints as to what's happening. And they fucking believe
Is that
them.
where all that stuff came from? Because
Yes.
I've been doing
one guy on QAnon.
Q.
Is that okay? Fine.
Yeah, Q is
Right.
the
Yeah,
one-
oh yeah, the guy.
The
Q.
guy is Q.
It's just a guy who just told people, I work for the government. Let me tell you, I've had a lot of people tell me they work for the government. They're always schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Every single fucking time.
But this is the one thing that
Because otherwise they wouldn't fucking tell me, would they?
I know. See, and
So,
that's
like-
how and that's why I believe everyone that does not explicitly come up and tell me they're part of the government is a CIA operative.
Makes sense.
And
Right.
then, see, now
Yeah.
I'm not crazy.
yeah,
So
no, that
a year, so like a year ago,
I do not trust Caleb at all.
like about a year ago,
no one does.
I was doing a show in Long Island, and it was a very big benefit show for autism.
Right.
And it had two other comedians on, both bigger names than me, but we were like the three of the four comics on the show. The other one's like the host, but it was me, and then two very big name comics, and I was surprised to see them because I knew them both as the two most pro-Trump comedians in New York. And I also knew, the only other thing I knew about them, because I knew them personally, was that they were both, at least according to multiple people I know, problem drinkers. So they're talking about Trump, and I'm being respectful. I'm not trying to have a fight here. And this show, by the way, was like the audience was mostly cops.
Right.
That explains
All
this
Trump
a little
heroes.
bit. And I did well, like just
Wants
by
to
being like,
entertain
okay, I'm gonna do the. I didn't know until I was on stage. And by the way, this is how I knew that I had to do a certain kind of act. The guy said, the guy read my intro wrong and said he was a writer for SNL, Triumph the Dog. Triumph the Dog got a big applause, which never happens. And then he says, and a writer for Joy Behar.
Oh.
And they all booed loudly.
Wow.
And then I walked and I said, okay, I should explain. I was a writer for Triumph the Insult Comic Dog roasting Joy Behar. And then they liked me again.
And then they all pulled their guns out and shot in the air, and I was like, they're saying who brought all the Albanians?
So one of the comedians backstage, we're talking,
Wow.
and he explains his theory about the Mueller investigation. And he goes, I think the Mueller investigation was I think that Trump authorized Mueller to do the investigation not because there was any Russian collusion. I think Mueller is actually purposely pretending to investigate Russian collusion as a way of investigating Hillary Clinton's ties to Russia, but he knows that the government would never allow him to do that because of the deep state. So they have to pretend this is about Trump's collusion, and then at the end of it, they're going to turn in an explanation of that this was always about Clinton. And
So what exactly is the deep state?
Let me explain. This person I was talking to used to work in law enforcement.
I'm not surprised.
Well, I think I know what it is.
Yeah, you know exactly who it is.
Yeah.
And when he said this to me, I remember thinking like, wow, I used to really respect you.
I think I know what you're talking about, and you're a bigger comic.
You used
than
to. No, I'm not.
No,
you
it's
used
not,
to be.
No, it's not him.
Oh,
I was like, you used to be.
I
what you're
thought-
talking about.
I was talking to this
thought
guy, and
I
I'm
knew
thinking
until
you
now.
used to be a person I respected
I
as
think
a
I know what you're
comedian.
talking about.
And I'm saying,
No shit.
and when he said that, I was like, I remember thinking like, dude, you really need help.
No shit.
Like, you legitimately
With a
have
drinking problem?
yes.
Okay,
You
I
have
think I know what you're
You
talking
have a
about. No
cognitive
shit.
disorder.
No shit.
Because that, and honestly, like, I'm not trying to do this as like an enemy. I don't want to identify the guy.
No,
It was
I
just the
get
fact
it.
that, like,
We'll talk
I
about
was,
it off air.
It's
I
Rob
was
Ryan.
so
This goddamn distracted me. He lulled me into his beliefs in his ponytail.
I
Great
was
callback.
so horrified that because to me this wasn't about Trump anymore. This was about you need help.
Right.
You have a cognitive disorder. If you think that makes sense.
But see, I'm a person that, like, for example, the news, I feel, is very fear-mongering.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, like, for example, you said a thing about, like, people that think Alex Jones, CIA operative. I tend to think he works for the government in some way, in my opinion. He's a fear-mongering. I think he does. I think he plays to those people, and he's supposed to be that card.
I think he's exactly what we think he is.
I think he's the
he's
white
a
Sharpton.
charlatan. He's a charlatan. He's much worse than Sharpton, but he is.
But I mean, like,
he's just a line guy. He's just a line greedy guy who thinks he found the every mark on the planet, and he's right.
But see, I think he's supposed to be that guy.
Yeah, because I'm going
That's
to
my
agree with
opinion.
Tim
I don't
on
think the
this
government wants
because
him to
I
do it.
feel like
No.
The government
Yeah.
does not want him. The government does not want him.
Oh,
But
yes,
like,
they
they
do.
say the government
The
doesn't
only
want
way
Sharpton either.
the only
Sharpton's
way
been
a
on the payroll for,
dictatorship
like, 30
thrives
years.
is if you keep a country divided 50-50.
Exactly,
So
divide and conquer.
you need a guy like him to keep the country divided.
That's
I'm
what I
not
was-
saying he's right,
Oh yeah.
but
Yeah.
you need
He's
someone
on a
like
payroll.
him. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
like
that's
I'm
crazy.
I'm definitely.
and I drink a lot, but I do.
Cheers, Tim. Treat.
Yeah,
I just heard
I
there
do
you go.
think that. I do
But, like,
think
no,
he
I
is.
agree because I feel like Sharpton has been on the payroll for at least 30 years,
I
and
agree.
Sharpton would be the polar opposite of an Alex Jones. And so I think that in your divide and conquer lines, yeah. I mean, I don't think that he's like, the director of the CIA or something, but I
Right.
think that he's like a paid informant or something.
Yeah.
No, I don't think. I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
I think he's paid to put out.
Do you believe
the
that
shit.
Sharpton works for the government?
Do I believe that Al Sharpton's political motivations are because the government is telling him to be out there? Al Sharpton has been divisive in 20 years.
Yeah.
Al Sharpton hasn't been.
I mean,
When-
if
when
you're a
Al
white
Sharpton
person in
was
middle
that-
America,
That was 30 years ago.
If you're a white person in middle America, Al Sharpton is divisive every day. The fact that Al Sharpton exists is divisive.
Well,
But
the
only
only problem I
because-
have with him is that selfie he posted. Did you see that? He was like, he's been working out. He got very skinny. He's posting lots of selfies.
Al
He looks
Sharpton
a little
is
AIDS-y. I'm
Al
just saying.
Sharpton is divisive because he was divisive. He was divisive in the 80s and 90s. That was what he was like, and then he changed his act and he became a more respectable politician. You don't have to love the guy. I don't love him either. But people hate him because he is a lightning rod for the hatred of black people in this country. That's why people hate him. Not because of something he's done lately. He's hated because he did make mistakes, but then he became this example that represents the racist notion of the
But how does
lazy
Alex-
welfare queen, tracksuit wearing, gold chain wearing huckster.
But, like, how
became-
does Alex Jones not represent the ignorant, redneck, drug addicted, like
you don't need the
racist,
government to make that
sexist,
Trailer
Right,
park.
he does.
bullshit,
Yes.
He
trailer
does.
park
He
trash.
just doesn't do it because the government wants him to.
It's
Right.
like to me, I think that Alex Jones represents to people on the left everything they think is wrong with the Rust Belt, white people, Republicans.
I don't think that's it
that-
at all. He represents mental illness in this country.
Yeah.
He represents the burgeoning idea that schizophrenics are no longer isolated. They talk to each other on the internet, and now instead of having them
I
be a
think that's
percentage of
Jordan
populations,
Peterson.
Jordan Peterson is just
Ooh.
a sad intellectual
Ooh.
who tries to, who just hates women and is trying to make a world safe for women hating
Okay, I
men's
can't
clubs.
argue that.
He's just a sad
Yeah.
bullshit.
Alex Jones is crazy.
I just wanted to bring that up,
Alex Jones.
and just because, like, I don't know, you know, you
But
put out,
I
you
know
put out
Alex
your
Jones is for
opinions.
over 20 years.
Yeah.
You put out your opinions, and I didn't want to sit here and be like, because there's people that
No,
know
I
me or
agree.
whatever else. So yeah, I do think that even after your arguments, I still think he's some kind of entity of, it's a small minute, but I do think his whole fucking deal, there's some kind of
Even Silk and
sports fan.
Diamond were paid for by Trump at some point, which you could argue that they were paid for by the government. Like, I think that
If Stormy Daniels can get money from the government
right.
for,
Well, she didn't
there's
get.
no
She
reason.
got money from Trump.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
that's the government.
Well,
There's
it wasn't
no
at the time
reason.
he paid her. He paid her in 2011.
But, okay.
He's the government now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
but
But he was
there's
government
Yeah, but-
7
for
years
me-
later.
There's
Right.
no reason for me to think. I mean, when
Right,
Alex
that-
Jones,
but that-
she got
when
paid
Alex
bef-
Jones started,
right
he may
before
not
he
have been
got
paid by
elected.
the government, but I do think now,
Yeah.
as things have
No,
gone
I
on,
agree.
and he got
I
heat.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's and not to be whatever because I've been hospitalized for bipolar disorder and I've been diagnosed as possibly with a touch of schizophrenia. And so I like to get into all this, but the scary thing is that it's like I think it's fun to like think about these things and you go okay and you can kind of
You got to go on with your day.
but the not to be like sound like but like it's a slippery slope because unless you like you're saying with money, right?
Yeah.
It's an illusion. I'm like, okay, yes, that's how it works. So but then from there now there's a choice. So then if I have a problem with it, find like a way to problem solve, or do I just get really mad and frustrated and just bang on the
Right.
bars of my jail, or do I go, okay, I'm gonna be calm, and now that I understand the system, how do I work it to get out, right?
Yeah,
So
I
those
don't-
are two different things. But here's what I'm saying. Here's the other
Yeah,
thing: is to look at someone like an Al Sharpton or an Alex Jones, right? Just from a psychological, to be mentally healthy, to look at them and be like, they could be being paid by the government. That would make sense. But then you go like, okay, but they also could just be crazy people. And so, but what happens is that if we start entertaining one or two ideas, when I was hospitalized, I thought people were chasing me and I called the cops because I thought people were breaking into my home.
Right.
And it started with just slowly I got like a weird look, and you can find once you start looking for like clues, air quotes, clues and like
Right.
hints to the puzzle, and you can see behind the wall. Once you start going down that rabbit hole, it's just like be careful, everybody, because one little thing we're like, oh, the government's paying them, and then it's like, but if you entertain that idea too much or get too invested in it, other than going like, or they could, but to say they might be being paid by the government, okay, or maybe they're just crazy people because Alex Jones I know has to like do ads for protein powder and shit, so like.
He's a snake oil.
And it's
Yeah, I
like,
don't
and
The
disagree with
government
you.
doesn't pay well.
but then not to sound like an asshole, but like, okay, so either of those scenarios are true. How does that affect your daily life?
I think if
I
Alex
guess the
Jones
better
were being
way-
paid
the-
by the government, he would have told us.
The better way to say it is, if you were to force me to bet if Alex Jones is being paid,
Yeah.
I would put money on it. I don't disagree.
You're not sure.
I
Right.
don't disagree with anything you're saying. But if I were to put the over, I would bet the over
I get it.
on
Yeah.
that.
I understand. I
I
respect
don't
If I
think
that.
there's-
had
I
to.
understand why there is
But
reason you might think.
But I don't place, just like the news, anything. I don't place any money on it. You know, I
it's
take
all
it for
bullshit.
what-
We're probably in a
exactly.
This is a simulation anyway, guys. That's
Right.
why I'm so fucking laid back about everything.
Yeah, this is all
There's-
make believe. We're
There's
all
a
in la la
balance in the
land.
world, and I feel like if there is a balance, if you can identify that there is a character or person that is paid for the government that sets off the right, then there's got to be a person paid by the government that sets off the left. And
Right.
so just from the pure idea of
But that doesn't
a
exist,
yin
though.
and a yang.
But none of those exist. Those are all just completely.
You can't say they
imagined
don't
things.
exist.
Because there's no left and no right. It's all one big circle, and they're all just trying to
they're all
get our
jerking
money.
off.
And by money, I mean points in this
Wait,
video game.
like-
Now that's schizophrenia.
Yeah, I
What
love
I have.
Dave. I love everything you're saying.
Yeah.
But to say that it doesn't exist is a strong statement.
Yeah.
The possibility that it doesn't, okay.
Yeah, but we already
But to
know
say that it
Sharpton
doesn't,
was
I don't know
paid
about
for
that.
by the like.
Okay,
we
that is an
already know that.
extremely dishonest way of putting it. He was a paid informant for a drug dealer. That is nothing comparable to the idea that he's supposed to make conservatives angry and racist on purpose. He was a paid informant for. Millions of people have been paid informants for the government to try to
But
catch
does he
coke
make
dealers.
conservatives angry because
Yeah.
they're racist?
Yeah.
Okay, so now
And-
that you,
and-
But he was
But
paid.
why-
But what was he
Wait,
paid for? Hold on, because I
seriously,
didn't know
what are we
this.
saying?
What
here?
was he paid for the government to do? What?
He was a paid informant to catch a coke dealer
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
20-something years ago.
yeah.
but
That's it.
And by cool, I mean
Yeah, like
bad
late
news.
80s.
Because
but like if
drugs
you're
are
on the
80s,
hook
early
for the
90s.
government, like
Yeah.
you're on the hook for the government, like you literally are their bitch.
I just think the idea that the government pays people to be divisive is one of the craziest things I've ever heard. I think the idea that the government has a payroll of divisive politicians saying we need people to stay mad and angry, that's what Russia does.
Oh.
That's not what we do. Because it doesn't help
That's
us.
where I
It
disagree
doesn't
with
help
you.
our system. It doesn't
Again.
it doesn't really help get people elected to have Alex Jones out there.
But like we literally have Putin's puppy in our White House right now. You don't think that the government is running on any sort of parallel to Russian politics right now?
Not to ourselves. We might be doing it to other countries because that's what you do. You
But what did we do to ourselves?
We don't you don't destabilize your own
This is
country.
great.
But at the same
This is
time,
great.
by the way, I want to point out, you mentioned schizophrenia.
Yeah.
The reason schizophrenics are so often conspiracy theorists is because the way schizophrenia works, it's the opposite of depression. When you have depression, chemically, nothing matters. It makes you believe that nothing matters. When you have
Okay.
schizophrenia, you have the exact opposite chemical imbalance in the other direction, and now everything, quote, means something.
Yep.
Okay.
So when you have that specific kind of mental problem, you can't accept coincidences. You can't accept little details that are errant.
People
Everything
use a
has to be
coincidence.
Everything has to be part of an overall structure.
Right.
I don't want to. Are there
Throw it
any?
down.
Are there any conspiracies that you favor?
Yeah, ones that make sense.
like for example,
selling cocaine from Nicaragua to pay for the wars that Congress wouldn't pay for.
Okay.
That makes
Okay.
perfect sense.
Okay.
There's nothing weird about that.
Well, like the major ones that are hashtag mainstream.
Well, what are the major conspiracies?
Jesus.
But is there a single one that does not serve right-wing propaganda right now? Is there a single conspiracy out there that is not clearly made up to tell people, and that's why you should love Donald Trump? Is there one? Is there a single anti-Donald Trump conspiracy? Because all of them seem to be serving, they all seem to have the same purpose right now.
Interesting.
To get you to pretend
Yeah, but
that
even
Donald Trump is
throughout
not
time.
a fucking idiot.
But even throughout time.
Well, yeah, I mean, JFK could have been, I don't know, but
Okay.
that's not a crazy thing
So
to think that he could have
I'll
killed him.
say like
Right.
I'm talking about today, the kind of bullshit
So-
Roseanne is pushing about
all right,
Obama.
like going to the Roseanne thing. Now, these I read a little bit about these QAnons, and so they were kind of talking about how there are
This is great.
facilities in Arizona that have
that's all I
sex
have.
trafficking and child pornography,
yeah,
and that they're run by the liberals.
yeah.
Now, what I'll say is I've also read an article recently that there are immigration facilities in Arizona that the children that are immigrants that have been pulled away from and separated from their parents are getting sexually abused.
Yeah, that's not a conspiracy. That's literally
That's
common
fact.
sense. We all knew that
So-
was going to happen.
Yeah.
So now let's just say, for instance, though, that Q drops this in 4chan or 8chan that there are facilities in Arizona that children are being molested and it's done by the liberals.
Me
But
too.
in all actuality, these are facilities in Arizona that children are being molested that are actually immigrants that have been separated from their parents.
Can I explain the difference between those?
But I'm just saying is that there are children that are being molested in Arizona in a facility.
Yeah.
But because that the 4chan, 8chan crew is so anti-liberal that they are pinning the abusers on a liberal ideology.
But they've created this conspiracy long before this happened.
But that's why, like, Chris
conspiracy-
Cornell and fucking Linkin Park died.
Yeah, exactly.
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 There's that story.
They think all celebrity
Wait,
deaths.
what is that?
Hillary Clinton killed him. Body count.
They think all celebrity
real
deaths
quick,
are
real
Hillary's
quick.
my bottom bitch.
Cornell, what's his name? The blonde-haired kid from Linkin Park. I don't remember his name.
No one knows his name. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
It
Cornell and
starts
him.
with
Chester?
one thing, I don't
Cornell,
know
yeah,
what.
Chester. You're
Really?
right.
Yeah,
Yes.
Fuck
that
yeah.
Yeah.
Chester
So-
Bennington.
Yes, thank you.
Nice.
So Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell, like, I think one of them, either way, were godfathers of one of their children. Cornell apparently died suicide, and the same with Bennington. And the reasoning was because those two were going to come out and talk about how much Hollywood and the music industry fucking finagle kids and butt fuck them and whatever else.
Right,
like
right.
they run a whole industry. So that's why they were taken out.
But you
That's
know what's
one of
in
the conspiracies.
I get it.
I don't know if it's true.
But you know what's
I
in
know
the-
nothing.
But how is Corey Feldman still alive then?
You know what's another? But you know what's another?
Oh, that's why they took out Haim.
Here's the
No,
thing.
no.
And I've interviewed a lot
keep
of.
him quiet.
I've interviewed a lot of these extreme right-wing conspiracy
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they always kind of just say the argument is, well, what else could have done blank? And it's like, well, you just have a lack of imagination. Here's how those two guys could have died so close together. They had the same dealer,
Yeah.
Right.
so they have a bad product.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, just like when Brittany Murphy and her husband both died, like within weeks of each other. It's like, well, clearly something killed them both.
Right.
Either their heroin or drug addiction or
But
just
you
black
think-
mold, whatever
but
it
you
was.
think Courtney Love would have the same dealer as Kurt?
Right.
Right. Well, Kurt, unfortunately had stomach problems.
I
I mean,
no, he did.
No,
He
Kurt probably blew his own brains out unless El Duce did it. That's not the hardest thing. That's not the hardest conspiracy to believe. It's just one drunken guy shooting somebody.
He had stomach problems. What happened? He had 2 bullets right through the middle of his body.
Right through his stomach.
If you listen, all I'm saying is if you think Kurt Cobain was murdered, listen to Pennyroyal Tea and you know you're right and tell me that guy didn't kill himself.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we need to take a quick break.
Oh, this is great.
This is awesome.
And I still think Kurt was murdered.
No, he might have been.
It
But not by the fucking government!
Yeah, but
It was Alex Jones.
Or-
Alex Jones killed Kurt.
or who's the name we've been?
Rob
Ryan.
Ryan.
Rob Ryan.
Rob Ryan.
Rob Ryan.
Rob Ryan.
died.
All right,
Bro, baby.
allegedly. All right, allegedly, guys. We will be right back.
I can't wait for Rob to hear this episode.
This is fantastic.
The name of the
So
episode's
fun.
got to be Rob Ryan now.
Oh, this is so fun, you
Rob
guys.
Ryan did it.
I'm so into
I'm
this
sorry
shit.
Open
I'm
the
not
door.
being
Quickly,
funnier,
open the
but
door.
this is great.
Open the door as fast as you can.
I'm going to the bathroom.
This is
That-
great.
That was fun.
I just listened to the episode. I did a live episode of Sam Tripoli's show, which I've never heard.
Oh.
The Skank Fest. Tim
Yeah.
Dillon. They did a live taping of Sam Tripoli's podcast, and Tim Dillon was a guest on it. And Sam Tripoli's show is called Tinfoil Hat. And they talked about all these conspiracies, and I was just like eating it up and Googling it. It's so interesting to me.
Yeah, I have so many, like, I don't know what's what, but there's so many I'm into.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
DeMeo.
Yes.
You know Matt Clark.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were talking about.
Yeah, he's
And
bigger than me.
is he really? You're much funnier
As a
than he is.
stand-up. No question. Yeah.
You're so funny,
I'm
though.
with you.
I'm a bigger writer.
And that's
Even
who-
since he doesn't write.
Right.
I've only seen-
I'm also a bigger MMA fighter because he's never tried it. So that's
Right.
the only reason I'm.
Oh, no, I mean, I guess in my brain, maybe I've
That's
seen him like
exactly
twice.
who I thought when you were
I was
talking
afraid.
Long
I was afraid I was getting too specific.
No, not at all.
That I don't want him like.
No, I think there'd be a
freaking
lot of people like her that'd be like,
Yeah, there's a
Who
moment. There's
exactly?
definitely
No,
more
I
than
knew
one-
Mark Tomato because I've met him like
There's more.
twice.
It could
yeah,
have
but
been.
did you
it
make
could
that
have been a
connection
lot-
when he was
Yeah.
talking?
It could have
That's
been
who
a
I thought it was,
prosecutor.
but I
It could have
remember.
been a prosecutor. It could mean a lot of people.
Yeah,
I don't
but
think anyone's
I
paying
don't.
attention to
Only
this
reason
that
I
much.
knew that because I remember I've done 2 shows with him, like in Astoria at some bar shows, and he kept walked in like he was the shit. He was like, "Yeah, I used to be a cop," and I was like, "Okay, cool." And he was drinking his face off, and then he went on stage, and I remember being like, "Wow, you have a really big attitude for someone who I don't find that funny."
Yeah.
That's why when you said bigger comic, I'm like, "Oh no, it can't be that guy. Dave's a
See, I
million times
thought,
funnier."
as dumb as it sounds, I thought you were thinking like that Bill Cannon.
No, I was thinking Mark Tomato.
Oh shit!
Because I think funny.
I went right there. Is this any good?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
I think it's a very interesting conversation.
Yeah, it's got all this stuff.
And Dave's being like him, but it's like contrasting enough to where
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to put in a couple more jokes in the next hour.
All right.
I'd like it to be funnier, right? Isn't that the goal or no?
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily has to.
Very interesting. Alex Jones paid by the government, yes or no?
I think he's just got famous from being crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. I think crazy sells.
Yes, it does. I can't argue that.
Maybe we should go back and bleep out the law enforcement word. I don't want to get him in trouble.
Whatever you feel,
Like I
man.
said, if it's like Like, what are this?
Okay.
Sorry,
who's
10
speaking?
seconds?
Yeah, 10 seconds, yeah.
Okay, good.
Hey guys, this is Dave Cyrus here for Blamestorming with Marissa Smith.
Hello, people.
We've also got
Wendy Starling.
and
Tim Warner.
here we go, everybody. We were just talking about some stuff. Wendy was complaining about someone. We don't have to say who if you don't want. Who was criticizing her for her lifestyle, but voted for Trump.
Right.
Which, of course, is extremely hypocritical that you're criticizing someone for mild sex
Right.
work.
Oh, I'll
Say
say.
who it
I mean,
is.
I'll say what it is. I was on the. I
Yes.
talked about it earlier. It was my mother. We were having
Yes.
conversation, and if you don't know, now you know. I wish we had the guy in your intro doing my backup. Now you know. Now you heard. Word. I like the British. They're fed up. Like this is about to be smart people. Get ready.
I'm pretty sure his name is Nigel.
They've got accents. But no, I went, had a sugar daddy. Had two for a while. Sold my panties. Worked a couple sex parties. So
Like I said,
like,
mild sex work.
yeah, and then I was having a conversation with my mother, and I said I go with Trey because it's like acceptable now. I said because the first lady she's a former escort, really married, right? But yeah, I'm like,
Well, by some standards, it's either alleged or just literally anyone who would marry him for his money. You could call that is like the least of it.
right.
She's at least a gold digger.
Right, she's at least a gold digger. She at least, and she came
allegedly.
over, and again, and not to be cunty, but here's what's crazy is I feel like as the liberal, explaining this to my conservative mother, I was like, this is such a backwards world that there's no way we're not in some kind of weird computer simulation. Because
Right.
I was telling my mom, I go, Mom, think about it. She's an immigrant. She was not a citizen. She was doing like back page escort work in her home country, and she married this ugly rich guy. Came over here. Think about it, Mom. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is very backwards because I actually don't care. But I was just trying to get her to own up.
She's a hypocrite.
Right, exactly. And it's weird. So we were having this conversation about how the right, especially the religious right that voted for Trump, they now, how can you vote for him and all? He's morally corrupt.
So what happened is your mom thought for a second she could use this morality, and you said, no, Mom, don't you remember you live in the new world where you don't care about someone's moral character?
Yeah.
You don't. Republicans never, ever, ever get to talk about anyone else's morality forever. But what I was going to say is, here's what you could have just said to your mom.
Yeah.
Because your mom said she was never an escort, and your mom trusts Trump. Why don't you just say to your mom, Mom, I was never an escort.
Don't you trust me?
Mom, I was never a sex worker.
Yeah.
So you trust when Donald Trump says something to you that you can prove is fake, and you just believe it for no reason, but your daughter you don't?
I'm an artist with
I like
patrons.
I like
Not
it.
even that. Just say, Mom, I was never a sex worker.
Yeah.
And just every time you see it, be like, never a sex worker, never a sex worker, never a sex worker. If she trusts Trump, it'll work on her too.
Yeah.
Well, what is worker?
Exactly. What is a sex worker?
Yeah, what is a sex worker?
Yeah, is that being you? Like, is that you being on top?
It's
Yeah.
not work.
Because I would be I would be a sex lazy.
Yeah.
Or something lazier.
I mean, when Alex Jones was complaining, they took down some of the more provably lying videos from InfoWars from Facebook, and everyone gets mad against censorship. Why don't you just say to those people, they never took them down. They're still there. Prove it. Prove they're not there. You didn't find it. Like, these people live on lies.
Right.
These people survive on constant... And the thing about Alex Jones and Trump is that the lies they tell, they're not really lies that they think they're going to win with. They're just lies that they just say as a fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
They're just saying, no, didn't happen. Like, they know you're not going to believe it.
Right.
They just think this is the way they can shut down the conversation.
Do you know what it reminds me of? My niece, I just went back to visit. She lives in LA. Not by herself, with her mother, my sister. But so, like, she's 3, she's just learning to lie. But it reminded me, I was Donald Trump, and I read his tweets or when I see him, I just start laughing. So my niece, she's learning to lie. And she's 3, so she's tiny, and she had her iPad, and we were going out in the backyard for backyard hangout time, and she brings her iPad, and her dad goes, "Hey, Annabelle, iPad in the house, we're doing outside family time, no iPad." She goes, "Okay," and then she walks in, and like 2 seconds later, she walks back out, the iPad is clearly behind her back, she's just holding it with her 2 hands, and she's sidestepping so none of us can see behind her back, and her dad goes, "Hey, Annabelle," and she goes, "Yeah," and he goes, "What's behind your back?" And she goes, "Nothing." And then she's bold-faced lying, but that's Donald Trump. That's how he communicates. He just says to them, you're like, "Are you a toddler? You think we don't see the iPad behind your back?"
Here's the problem. Did she get punished for that?
Yes.
Because she honestly, like, I feel like you're a bad parent if you don't treat that with like some kind of seriousness.
Yeah.
That like when your child is lying, I think that's not something people really acknowledge anymore. That lying is bad.
They think it's funny and it's cute. And here's what happened. So he was like Annabelle, and so she like. So no, they didn't laugh. I'm the bad one because I like to think it's funny, but they get it's a problem.
But they're right.
And so they So she started to like sneak back inside with it, and they were like, "No, you're not going to come back outside. Turn around." And she had to show the iPad, and they're like, "Okay, why are you lying?" And now the punishment is you don't get your iPad for the rest of the day. It was early day, and like for her, she's 3, so that was a big deal.
Yeah.
But so that was her punishment, and she sat up there and was mad. But it's like, oh well, you can't lie.
Who was she mad at? Her parents?
Yeah, I think she was just mad. I mean, she's 3, so she doesn't understand to be upset with herself yet.
And the problem is we live in a country now where people don't unlearn how to act like 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You're supposed to be like that when you're 3, but you're supposed to be taught like a good parent. Like you said, her parents took away the iPad, which is, I mean, I think honestly, the best thing a parent should do when even a 3-year-old is doing something like that, you really should, you have to take that iPad and just smash it to pieces right in front of them and scream until they get the point, and that's how they'll be good, balanced people.
I agree.
So, I have a question a little bit off topic, only slightly, but kind of a bit about acting like good adults, I guess, is the thing. Now, all 3 of you... I can't
answer this.
Tim's like, I'm going to go ahead and smoke.
You're actually more qualified than you think. So now, all 3 of you are non-people of color.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So recently, there was a woman of color, an Asian woman of color, that was hired by the New York Times that had made some tweets that were making fun of people of non-color.
White people.
White people.
I feel like I
don't think I've ever heard
that.
the words people of non-color my entire life.
Let me tell you, and before you go with your story, first of all, we can all just say...
But if I'm white, isn't that a color?
No, I don't get offended by that. I was just at the Beyonce concert, Jay-Z, and I was dancing, and I was in the front area, and I was dancing my ass off, and I was so excited. And, like, there were, and I'm going to say black people, because it wasn't people of color, but it was, there were very few white people in there. And it was, like, me, and then, like, 3 other people dancing, and I'm 36, and a 36-year-old white lady was dancing. And at one point, I turned, and there were, like, 7 black people just videotaping me and laughing on their phones, and I was like, oh, I don't care, because I'm having fun.
Yeah.
So, you know... And I wasn't like, I bet they're videotaping me because I'm like a good dancer. I 100% knew it was like, because I'm a white girl dancing and it probably looks whack and I just don't care. So you can call me white.
Also be fair, those sound like, I promise you, those are not the most funny people either. The people who are like, I'm going to videotape the white girl dancing, those sound like fairly boring individuals already.
Yeah, but so I was very aware.
Like if that's what they look at, if that's what they're just like laughing at, it's like.
But also that I'm 36.
You're too easy. You're too easy to please.
They're like, oh, she brought her daughter to the concert, so you can call me white. Is what I'm saying. Keep going.
Yeah, just say white.
So, to be honest though, like I try not to. I try like.
No one's offended by the word white.
Yeah,
Literally no one.
Well,
literally no one.
To this article, people were offended
because she said she hated white people, not because she called them white.
No, she didn't say that she hated white people. She said
burn
that.
Them all.
Oh God, Christ! I'm on fucking airplane mode.
But I mean, are you really going to compare saying I hate white?
She didn't say she hated white people. She said that she enjoyed, I think, ruining old white men's day.
It's not that far from what I said.
Oh, I do the same thing. I love, old white people. I love ruining their day.
Like, but like that's ruining their day and hating
In
them
what
is really
way?
different.
How does she ruin?
I cannot.
Was it like a joke tweet?
Yeah, it was a joke tweet.
Okay.
And so
was the joke funny? If it's
Yeah,
funny, I don't
first
care.
of all, yeah.
I found it funny, but I'm a person of color.
Okay.
But but it kind of like goes back to whether or not. Are you pulling it up right now?
Yeah. Here's
Okay.
the quotes, so we can talk about it.
Okay.
Oh man, it's kind of sick how much I enjoy, how much joy I get out of being cruel to old white men. White people marking up the internet with their
Same
opinions like dogs pissing on fire hydrants, cancel white people. Look, I mean,
I
it
mean,
doesn't.
are these
It sounds like.
offensive?
I mean, it
Put any
sounds-
other race in there and tell
say
me
it again. Say
put
it
any
again
other
with black
race in the
people.
word white
All
and
right.
see if people
You know
get
what?
Say
mad.
it again with black people.
You know what? I'm going to say it with another race,
Please.
another discriminated race,
Please.
and we're going to see just how okay this
Yeah.
is. Oh man, it's kind of sick how much joy I get out of being cruel to old Basque men. Would you be okay with that if it was about the Basques?
Yeah, fuck the masks.
Wow. So if I said cancel Basque people, that's something we're all going to get. No, but of course, replacing it with something other than white would be bad, but because white isn't really a protected class,
first of
it's
all-
not really an ethnicity itself.
First of all, forgive me. Who is this person?
She's a woman who was hired by the New York Times to
Okay.
be a
The
tech
text-
writer.
Yeah, she's a tech
And so
writer.
people are mad that her tweets. Now, if
So who cares?
her worst tweet
Yeah,
is
but also,
who
who gives a
cares?
shit? If that
Who
person,
cares?
how much joy I get out of being cruel to old
But
white men,
who
which
cares?
she said was meant to be sarcastic.
Right.
And I think that joke policing in general from both directions is really fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Because you end up kind of taking away the ability to really talk about people who actually did something wrong by trying to say that a joke is as bad as a real statement. Now, I don't know enough about this to say whether or not she's being honest when she said it was a joke. If she does hate white people, if she does, she's an Asian woman in America.
I don't blame you.
It's not exactly, well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's a conversation we
We
should
got a
have.
bad history.
Well, this is the whole thing, though. It's like, can you make fun of white people?
It has to be a degree.
Not while they're a majority. And that's a limited time only while supplies last. That's going to change.
Well, no, you can
But
make
I feel
fun
like
of
you
it.
can only
In real
do
life,
it.
you
You can.
can make fun of it because they're
only-
intelligent.
when
because
people,
it's
when,
a majority.
but when people start fucking hyping, yeah, right now it's going to suck.
These tweets are borderline. These
Yeah,
tweets are
they're
borderline.
fine.
They're
That's
borderline.
fine.
Because when you're saying, I just enjoy being cruel to old white men. First of all, ageist. But really, the more of the point is, the answer, is it okay
Maybe
to
she's a
hate?
dominatrix.
Is it okay to dislike white people? Is it okay to make fun of them? The answer is, how? If you were actually there's a point to where, yes, it's okay to not want to hire someone if they're saying things like, kill all the fucking white people, and not like as a joke. Because then you'd be like, well, this maybe isn't a good person for this job. Doesn't mean they should be arrested. Doesn't mean they should be banned from something. But it means you have a right to hire who you want to hire and not have a PR problem. This woman's are kind of borderline.
Yeah,
I can
she's
see them.
having
They're,
fun.
they're
So
kind
for
of jokes.
Me, I kind of
Yes.
So from my perspective, I can draw back on being in stores, and I was in a CVS in Westchester. It was raining. I had my umbrella, I had my purse, I had a fucking raincoat on and rain boots. I'm shopping, and this older white woman comes up to me, and she's just like, "What aisle is the Tylenol in?" And I just turned to her and I said, "I don't know, I don't work here." And then she's like, "Well, I didn't ask you if you worked here. I asked you what aisle the Tylenol is in." And now,
Well, she was
this
embarrassed.
is-
She mistook you for an employee. She's being
But like this is
bitch
why
about it.
this
Yeah.
is why I'm explaining that I had on rain
It's
boots,
right here.
an umbrella,
yeah.
a raincoat, and my purse. Literally, I look
Which
like
store
a
was this?
CVS.
Yeah.
So maybe, but I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I had something happen where I looked like it made me look like an asshole, but I'm like, I wasn't being like a racist piece of shit. Then I'll tell you, this is the craziest thing. What if she's not from the area and she's never been to CVS? You don't know if she's having a panic attack. She sees you and she just sees you walk in, and what if she's like, hey, do you know where this shit is in the store?
I mean, the belief that it had to be because you're black is possible.
Yeah.
But it's not definite, right?
But if you're carrying all your stuff, it's pretty clear that you don't work
I don't
there.
work there.
Right.
So like then she's like, "Well, I didn't ask you if you worked here. I asked you where the Tylenol was." And I turned to her and I said, "I don't get paid to speak to you. Move along, ma'am." And she was just like, and like she was just like, and she was just looking at me like I just like shat in the pool. But it was just kind of like, you know, something like people actually get paid to talk to you. Like, you don't need to come over here and ask me where shit is. Like, I owe you a fucking...
I would have said aisle 911.
Yeah. I mean, she definitely sounds like there's something wrong with this woman.
Yeah, like, she's... Right. But, like, this... Like, it's not even just, like, because I've had, like, older, like, Latino ladies that ask me also... I don't know why, but it's always, like, some sort of drugstore. And, like, someone asked me how much a card costs.
You know, you literally wear a red vest every day, right?
Oh, I'm wearing one now. Yeah. You know, that's how. Why do people think they can't see your legs? I put my red vest over them.
Yeah.
But to be fair, and if I'm spazzy, I've walked in stores, and especially when I like moved to another neighborhood, if I go in and I can't figure out where shit is, and I see somebody calmly, even if they're shopping, I've done that multiple times. Where I go, "Hey, I'm sorry to bother you. Do you know where the Midol is, or whatever?" Like I've done that before.
Why does that bother you?
Because I specifically think they think that I work there, and that's what pisses me off. Because
that you're better than CVS.
No, what pisses me off is that they think that they have the right to just assume that they can talk to me. Because I've been in, like, I've worked in Blockbusters, I've worked in fucking ice cream shops, I've worked in these situations. Right. I don't want to talk to you. Like,
But they don't know any of that.
But is that what you're mad at? The fact they talked to you?
Yes.
Like, if they said anything, you would have been upset.
You really...
Like
even if it's just like, you like Red Bull? Like,
anything other than, hey, like, if you're just kind of giving me a greeting, then I'm fine with a greeting.
Okay.
But if you are asking me information that people are actually paid to give, now I'm pissed off.
Because I get people asking me for cigarettes all the time. I don't get mad. I just
but that is like a social. That's a social thing. That's like an economic construct. Because to me, it's like I automatically they think that I'm working in this store, or that even if I'm not working in this store, that even though people get paid to do the thing that they're asking me to do, they don't owe me a salary for doing this thing. Like when people ask me on the street, like, "Oh, can you take a picture of me?" I'm automatically no.
Do you have situations where you have?
So you're just not a people person.
But do you have?
All people.
100%.
Yeah. So it's 100%. No, I'm not being shitty because I love you and we're friends.
Yeah.
I agree.
But I got to be honest with you. I'm one of these people that if I'm out, I like to talk to people and 100%. Be friendly. And I went at the health food store around the corner from where I live.
If she wasn't white, would that have bothered you?
No, I still would be. I would just ignore. I wouldn't be offended. I just ignore you.
Okay, in that case, let's bring it back to this woman's tweets?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have two things that I think that I would say about this.
Go on, pantsless Dave.
One, that the woman that I would say there seems to be a problem of nuance here, because I think it's an Asian woman hating white people. If that's what this was.
Sense.
I'm not saying
it makes
an
sense.
Asian woman who hates white people
makes sense.
Is not I don't think is as indicative of a toxic culture as when the person in power, a white person, hates her. But that doesn't make it okay. That doesn't make it good. It just means it's less bad. I would say bigotry doesn't speak well of you as a person, no matter what. And it doesn't necessarily mean that this woman is on that threshold. I'm just saying that you can both say that, there's a big difference between racism and bigotry, but that doesn't mean that all bigots are simply good people because they're not racist. But also, this woman is this is about her having a job. People are calling this hypocritical to say that they're keeping her and that when she said these things. But, I mean...
Great thing about this country is you're allowed every opinion.
Yeah. I guess that's what the question was,
can you make fun of white people?
Yes.
Well, is that making fun of them or just saying she hates them? If it was a joke...
No, I think the title of the article is, "Can you make fun of white people?"
Yeah. Well, but the article isn't, written by God. We can still, say that that's the situation...
And that's a misleading title, because, just because, you know what I'm saying? Because you're like, well, that's different. Now, there's a difference, like those women videotaping me at the Beyonce, they were probably videotaping that, and they're going to go laugh at me like, look at this dumb white girl dancing, right? I personally don't care. I was having fun, but that's my general personality is a lot of people have not liked me as far as I've long as been alive. Going to be a lot more, and there's nothing I can do about it, and I just got to move on, right? People, this is not to get all positivity on you, but like my favorite thing that I read, and I think about it every day, there are only 2 things you can control today: attitude and effort. And I think about that every day. I can control my attitude and my effort, and that's it. Yeah. Other than that, so like even someone walking up to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to control my own anxiety levels and all that bullshit. Anyway, back to the point. Those women videotaping me, that's making fun of white people. Or specifically me, right?
So it's not making fun of white people.
No.
It's making fun of you.
Right.
It's like Elaine dancing.
Well, right, but that's what I'm saying. But no, but I
could also be
You're
like,
not making
this
fun of
white
white
girl's
people
really
because
getting down.
But here's the thing. Let's go back to Brian's article.
Or it could...
Again, first of all, I'm not mad about their videotaping.
Because I've seen you dance. Like, you don't dance like, like you don't know how to dance.
Right. But let's go back to I want to just, like, hit this point. There's a difference in making fun of, because the title of that article, is it okay to make fun of white people?
Of course it is.
So, but then those tweets, so that's a misleading title, because that's already setting it up like, this is a lot of bullshit, get ready to read this woman make. So the difference in making fun of somebody and then being hateful would be if they were to videotape me, and like, it wasn't saying, I don't know why they did it, but if the purpose of them videotaping was to be like, look at this goofy white bitch dancing, right? Now, I happen to be white. I don't believe that they videotape all white people. I don't really give a shit, right?
Yeah, but you're a goofy motherfucker.
But just for the sake of this conversation, right?
Okay.
And I honestly don't really give a shit. Like, I'm not like, I can't believe they're making fun of white people. I for real don't give a shit. But like, for the sake of the argument, that would be making fun of if that was the reason they were videotaping it, right? And if they went home and they were like, look at this white lady, and if they made a habit of videotape, right, which is crazy, that's probably not happening, but if that were the case.
It's definitely happening.
That's making fun of, right?
Right.
Now, if when I was dancing, instead of going like, oh, that's silly and cute that she's dancing, they went up and they were like, then they started like screaming at me, die whitey die. That's not making fun of. Now that's being hateful. So there's a difference in being like, this is a silly video, and then being like, cancel white people. Cancel white people at Beyonce. That's what I'm trying to say. There's a difference. There's a difference in making fun.
So if the caption was
like being hateful.
I'm the wrong person to talk to.
I don't feel like cancel white people is being hateful.
What about the comment
Yeah.
under her video was the same comment the woman made on Twitter that said, I get so much joy out of being cruel to old white women.
Yeah, if it said old white women.
You're not old.
But they said that to be mean.
Again, who gives a
like,
shit? You're fucking
No,
dead in
I
the
don't
end. Who
know.
cares?
See, like,
It's not that big a deal.
Like,
but
that's me.
Doesn't mean
This is why I'm awful at this argument.
No, but that's why you
I'm
get.
having so much of a problem with this.
Here's the thing. I'm not arguing. I'm saying I'm just doing it like a debate.
I have
hear you.
a lot of
Gives a
friends
shit.
and I have friends and family
Like,
that
even if it
are
was hateful, gives a shit.
non-people of color.
You're not going to see
But
that
at the
again.
same time, I feel like the oppressor can't be oppressed. So, like, I kind of feel like, well, slavery, colonialism, like, I don't know that you could be upset about somebody tweeting about this.
We're not talking about a woman who's the ancestors of slaves or colonized people, are we? We're talking about the ancestors of...
Well, if she's Asian, it's possible, like, that her...
Well, she wasn't enslaved in America, right?
Yeah, but her
maybe in 1940.
I'm not saying... Yeah, she could have been...
After Pearl Harbor or whatever else.
Oh, no, I'm not defending that.
What if she was adopted by white people that forced her to play the piano?
Regardless, who gives a shit? We're all fucking dead in the end. Who cares?
I'm just trying to get Marissa to say something negative about Asians. I didn't get where I was leading this to. I was trying to get her to say...
But that's
not going to happen right now.
But I just...
I was trying to make Blasians.
But that's actually the point, is that, yes, you're right. But you're making a correct point, that you cannot oppress the oppressor. Does that mean that it is all or nothing? If you're white, there is literally nothing that a person should even not get a job for saying about.
This is why I said that I'm having a problem, because, like, I feel like...
She's like, I'm in a room with white people, but I also hate you.
No, like, if there are any white people I love, they're in this room right now.
Yeah, I won't disagree with that.
Just do not ask me where
That's what I'm
the
saying.
fuck anything is in this room.
That's what I'm saying. Just because it's not
Bitch, pay
racist.
me.
Racism is not the only bad thing a person
I'm
can
not
do.
telling you what the Tylenol is. Where's my non-fitty?
If an Asian, if a Korean person harasses you when they walk into your store and accuses you of stealing, that's not racism, but it's still wrong.
That's a trick question and a riddle, because the Korean is the owner of the store.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
They are both the oppressed and the oppressor.
But no, you're saying it's not racism because they're not oppressors, but it's still wrong.
But in the store, they are the oppressor.
It's still bigoted. Well, then, yeah, but they don't have to own the store to do it. I'm saying if a Latino person says something racist to you, she may not be acting with racism because she's not the person in power, but she's still, being bigoted.
Racist.
She's still being, but she can be bigoted and look. There's prejudice and bigotry can be against anyone. Racism has to do more with the power structure of the nation you're in, right?
Yeah, but Latinos are secretly racist. Everyone. They're super racist.
Everyone has racism. Every group has racism in it.
No, this is true. Like, even black people are like, racist within, like, you know, shades, and it's, like, team, like, dark against team light, like, the whole thing.
Well, there's no black people who dislike other races besides whites. I mean, look, all people have racism in their cultures. All people have people that they should be ashamed of on their side.
Yeah.
It's much worse when you are the actual people in power and you're able to hurt generations of people.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that excuses literally anything else. Is all I'm saying. And I'm not saying this woman's tweets were on that level, but I think they are kind of, and when they call them sarcastic, did they look sarcastic? Or did they just kind of look like someone who just maybe doesn't like white people and just want to talk about it? It's not like she said kill them. It's not like she said, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
Right.
But is it really that hypocritical?
At the end of the day, people just want attention. Whether it's the Asian lady for saying her things or it's the white people for bitching. We all want attention. None of it matters. Who cares? We're all dead in the end.
But we still have time to
have a better. I know that. But we should all have more of a sense of humor about who and what the fuck we are. None of us love to accentuate our flaws, and we should accentuate our flaws.
Cancel white people seems like a cutesy thing. That would not offend me. But saying I love being cruel to white people.
Delete. Then I got a problem.
Yeah. And white people's opinions are like
every show that gets canceled
you know,
is having a reboot right now. So, like, you'll just come back in 20 years. It's fine.
Look, it's okay for her to say those things, but it's also like
it's perfectly fine for her to say those things.
Yeah.
In this country, it's perfectly fine for her to say all of those things.
She should have the right to say all those things.
Yes.
But is every employer obligated to not care about that, even if they think it might hurt their bottom line? Is it wrong of an employer to say, well, I mean, there's worse things you could have said, but we need to be careful and we don't want to, create problems? Is what she said, because they keep saying like it's a joke, but these didn't look like jokes. They just looked like a person's opinions. And opinions,
she could just
she has every right to
funny
tweet.
Person, though.
You
and I could say the same thing and probably make it sound funnier.
I don't think she was being sarcastic. They don't look sarcastic.
I gotta tell you, I was dating somebody for a while, and I remember he was saying something shitty. He would make like some shitty comment, and because he had a terrible sense of humor, which is why it did not work out. But I can remember I would say something like make some smart, like make like a joke and be like, say like a cutesy jokey thing, and then he would be like, hey, knock it off. He's like, watch your mouth. He would say, watch your mouth. Don't like watch it with the jokes, right? And I remember being like, okay, first of all, that's like what I do for my job, and I was like, okay.
And you're funny as fuck.
And then I said something, and he goes, well, no, I just don't appreciate you making fun of me. I go, no, baby, when I tried to explain, I said, no, I'm being sarcastic. Like,
I'm teasing you.
Yeah, I go, that's how I show affection. I'm teasing you. And people that don't understand humor and sarcasm, when they say something shitty, and then people call them out, and they go, it was a joke. And you're like, it's not a joke. They go, sarcasm?
That's what every Trump supporter does now. They all say it's a joke when they say what they mean. That's why when Trump's on stage, and he says something like, Maxine Waters, low IQ, everyone behind him laughs. Not because he's joking, but because they're getting a thrill out of the toxic, disgusting way he's acting.
Yeah,
right.
Like the way a serial killer feels good stabbing someone.
Do you find that same feeling when you read those?
No, not on that level. Not on that level. But I do see this as, I think you're bullshitting when you say this is sarcasm.
Oh, for sure.
Who cares?
I'm not saying it should be the end of the world for her. I'm not saying she should be hounded.
Right.
But there are some jobs when your job has to do with media where they're going to scour your tweets and say.
And what's her job?
Her job would be
a tech writer for
a reporter for the New York Times. A reporter for the New York Times.
Okay.
So that's a job where you can lose people if you had a certain hatred towards one group. Even if it's white people. That's the least bad group to hate, but it doesn't mean that openly hating them is something that is 100% good.
To be 100% honest, I feel like if we met this woman, that she probably has dated like probably 75% white dudes.
Why is that, Marissa? Say it, because Asian guys have little...
misogyny in their culture, yes.
Yes.
There's a little misogyny in their culture. That's true.
Yeah.
Just like of any others.
Do it.
I don't know.
But I probably would have done
Bank
blow with that.
accounts.
I would have done blow with that Asian chick in a heartbeat.
Here's the thing. I understand.
And I would have fucked her.
I completely understand why anyone would hate white people.
I get it.
If you're looking at all people as a representative of every other person that looks like them, which, kind of is where racism comes from. But the whole point is, I do get it, and I don't think it's anywhere near as insidious as attacking a person who is out of power. But I still don't like you.
But I mean, at the
I
same
still don't
time,
like you as a
you could
person.
say like, okay, now I find Ann Coulter to be completely repugnant and racist.
Yeah, she's a horrible person.
Yeah, but like she also dated black guys.
Yeah, but she's a horrible... What does that have to do with anything?
So like, what I'm saying is
Thomas
that
Jefferson was still a racist.
and he had a lot of black babies.
Yeah.
But like this woman, I think that she can say negative things about white people without being 100% racist. The same as Ann Coulter can say that she's saying negative things about people of color and also say that she's not 100% racist.
Well, this woman's not racist. She's being... What we're talking about is prejudice. She's being prejudiced against white people. She's not racist because white people are in power, but because racism and prejudice... All racism is prejudice, but not all prejudice is racism.
Right.
So, I'm just
She's
saying...
a bigot.
Of course she can say these things, but there are certain jobs where if you talked about one individual person like you hated them, they might say, I don't want... if you just ranted about Kim Kardashian, they might say, you're being too obsessed with Kim Kardashian, I don't want you to work here.
There's too many white people that are fucking losers. That just...
Backyard baggies.
Yeah, who gives it? Like, this
And
is
they
my
should
thing.
all
Who
pay.
gives a shit? This blows me. Who gives a shit?
Well, it's because...
I know
white
this
people-
is an article and this is a thing. She works for the New York Times. But at the end of the day, who gives a shit? Like, you make it... Just like happiness is not a feeling. It's a choice. You can either choose it or you can choose depression.
Man,
And now you're going to sit here and just choose to go, hey, wait a minute. This Asian woman offended me. If it was a white woman, it probably wouldn't offend you. Who cares? Who gives a fuck what someone says?
Well,
you
hold
still
on.
have to go to work. You still have to raise your kids. You still have to fucking feed your family. Like, who gives a shit
Let's keep
what
it-
one person says?
Let's keep this honest. If this was
Yeah.
a white woman with a job at the New York Times who had tweets like that about Asians, we would never know this
Like
story
Asians,
because she
but I'm
never
not
would have had a
saying
fucking chance at the job.
Right.
She would be
Yeah.
railroaded as she should be because it is worse when it's the minority.
But I'm talking if it was a white woman saying this about white people.
Yeah,
Who gives
but
a
like
shit?
I'll say that
Well,
Bush.
yes, it's different.
So-
It's your own people.
so
People don't
who-
get as mad. But you would also
And
look
the
like a
thing is,
complete fucking
it's
tool what she did.
it's just people that have fucking nothing going on in their lives.
I will say-
that
Bush
need to
Senior-
fucking manifest some bullshit.
I will say that if she was a white woman saying this
in
about
order
white
to
people,
make
she'd be
them
stealing from black people.
feel important.
Yeah.
White
That's
people who rant about white people on Twitter are appropriating black culture, and I think they're racist. I 100% believe that. I think every time I see a white person on Twitter being like, oh, white people like this, I'm like, I'm sorry, don't you mean we? Because every white person who refers to white people as white people and not us is a fucking hypocrite and appropriating black culture.
Like,
Thank you.
I don't,
But, like-
I don't understand how our culture gives
But
a shit
I
about
disagree with Dave on the fact that if she was a white person talking about Asians, that she wouldn't have a job. Because,
At the New York Times,
No,
all right, so
never.
like
her last
Father
article
Bush-
would have been an apology.
Bush Senior used to talk about his half Mexican grandkids as the brown ones, and everyone is still okay with that. I mean, you can't
In what-
call.
What's the quote?
So basically, like Bush Senior has some grandchildren that are half Mexicans,
Uh-huh.
and he refers to those grandkids as the brown ones.
Are you sure?
And that's also 20 years ago.
30 years ago. 1988 is the quote.
And
Oh,
he-
Jesus is 38.
So it's 30 years
it
ago.
is 30.
I mean, I literally had someone the other day say white feminists are racist, and I said, do you have an example? And she said suffrage. And I'm like, that hasn't existed in 98 years. If that's your only example, you need new examples. Like, you can't just say, well, 100 years ago when everyone was racist, they were too. Sorry, go on.
I don't know. Because you're going to get me on some white feminist bullshit.
Well, I think hatred of white feminists is just a way to attack feminism.
I just don't understand who gives a shit
I'm
about
a feminist, but
if you're telling every white woman that she's a racist for being a feminist,
who gives a shit about a fucking tweet?
Wait, what are you saying?
If you are ascribing the idea that all white women who believe in feminism are therefore racist because they're white feminists, you're not a feminist.
No, I don't think that white women that believe that they're feminist are racist. My problem with white feminists is that they believe that slut shaming is feminism. That is my problem. Because slut shaming is
it's a non-racial thing we're talking about.
No, slut shaming is actually a bullying problem. It's not a feminist problem because men can be sluts.
Mainstream feminism
My problem is really like as far as feminism goes. I want to be paid the same. I want reproductive rights. I want to have all of the same amenities that men are allowed. The fact that you fuck a guy that calls you a slut is not a problem with feminism. It's a problem with the men that you're fucking.
Are you saying that your problem with white feminism is that they shouldn't be so anti-slut shaming?
No, my problem with white feminism is that they are trying to hijack a movement for a personal problem. You fucking the wrong dude is not a problem of all women. It's a problem of your own choosing.
Okay. I'm not really familiar with that aspect.
You understand slut shaming.
Yeah, and I'm trying to.
What side of this are you on? I'm actually confused.
I'm a black feminist, obviously.
No, I'm saying of slut shaming. No, I'm saying of slut shaming. What side are you on of this? I'm confused by what you're.
So for me, slut shaming is not a problem of feminism. It's a bullying problem. I feel like.
So you're saying we should not be invoking "don't call a woman a slut" the way we are, is what you're saying?
No, you shouldn't call a woman a slut. But you shouldn't call a woman a slut because it is anti-feminist. You shouldn't call a woman a slut because you shouldn't be bullying people.
I think so. I'm not real. First of all, I am a woman. I am white, but I am an MRA member. So I'm not a white feminist. So thank God we can still be friends. I know I didn't go to any of the women's marches. I haven't done any of that stuff but I was kind of familiar with it because being involved with the sex work stuff and talking about it.
Right.
Now, I got a problem with, and here's what's so fucking crazy. We were talking about this earlier with the Occupy thing. Yeah. Here is, and I try to not get so upset, but it's so obvious to me. We're in such a weird, it's not even gripe culture anymore. People just want to be angry, like you're saying. They're looking for a reason to get mad, so they go on Twitter. Or even in the feminists. That's why women can't get ahead, because we go, well, wait, but it's black feminists versus white feminists and Asian, and it's like, no, stop it. We're on the same team, but everyone's like, no, but they want to identify as, no, but we have to be separate because I want to make sure that my voice gets heard and I'm mad about this. And it's like, you can't work that way, and that's why the Occupy thing didn't work, because everyone's got their own and nobody's willing to go, let's all put our egos to the side, and we know we have all these other identifying things about us that are different.
I'm a diva, I can admit that.
I can't argue this.
So when I understand wanting to identify with your culture and your race, your background, but as women, we're trying to get together, and even sex workers, and there's a big divide in the sex work community. It's very divided because the marginalized sex workers are women of color and trans women. Right. And so now what happens is,
and even how they do that is divided.
Yep.
And how they do that is divided.
And what happens is
they're still making less money.
And what happens? But now here you go.
Compared to male.
But you go. But what's the solution?
No, but like a trans sex worker and a sex worker of color is making less money than a white sex worker for the same exact job.
Not if they're doing it right.
No, it's not.
No, statistically, they're making.
It also depends on what they're willing to do. Yes, thank you, Tim.
No, but here's the issue, and I understand being angry. I can see from the point of view of a black sex worker, trans sex worker, being like, this is not fair. Now, so being a logic, I understand the initial reaction, like you're talking, like we have control over our emotions and how we choose to respond to things.
Okay.
I understand the initial feeling is to be mad and angry and bang on your prison cages.
100%.
But now, if the key to get out of the prison is hidden somewhere in the cell, Do you think you're going to be able to find that after violently shaking, or you're going to have to calm yourself down, get steady hands, and figure out the solution? So with this anger thing, where people's first reaction, and like you even said, when someone comes up to you, CVS, and goes, "Where's the Tylenol?" Your first reaction is like, "Fuck you," right? Now and that's fine. That's how, and we're obviously really good friends, so I know why you react that way.
Right.
It's not just because, for people listening, it's not just because like I was in rain boots. That's not why. Yeah. But that's something that individuals, we have to work on our initial response, because if our response is to be angry, that's not the solution. Now all you're doing is causing more collision and chaos and anger. And guess what? If I walk into a room and I'm having a great day,
I did not spit in their face, which I think I was controlling my anger because
never did.
But here's the example.
You should have gotten angry in the first place.
And it's not
that bitch should not have asked me that shit for free.
No, but here's the thing.
I have a thing about strangers
Why
talking
not?
to you.
Here's the thing.
I don't like strangers.
People are fucking flawed. Why not?
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's not that you shouldn't have been angry, and it's not that she shouldn't have asked you for that. It's not a should or should have not happened thing. It is what happened, and then you got to choose how you react. Now,
Thank you.
For example, here's an example right now. Here's a perfect example. I'm in a great mood. I walk in to go meet Tim for lunch. I don't know that he had a shitty day. I'm like, okay, I have no idea that he had a terrible day. I walk in and I'm like, hey, can you move your stuff off the bag or off the chair for me? And if he's in a shitty mood, if he responds to me with fine, fucking with anger, guess what I do? Not be nice back. I go, whoa, what? Now I get defensive. So now I'm defensive, and now he feeds off my like, why is she being defensive? She must have done something wrong. So now you've got this bounce, this back and forth effect where nobody can fucking work together because everyone's mad and they want to go, listen to me. It's crazy.
This all makes sense because when that crazy white blonde lady, remember there was a very deeply mentally white lady who called the police because
I am
she was
right
getting
here.
yelled at. She was getting yelled at by these black people
Yes.
who she
So
was
good.
harassing.
So good.
Right.
She was like harassing. She was obviously very, very mentally ill. She clearly was like, she needed to be immediately helped. And
You saw those sunglasses. Bad fashion
and
choice.
she started talking to some black woman, and the woman was like, and she said, you should go back to your room. You're not well. And they're trying to be respectful. And she felt, and people started yelling at her, get out of here. And she obviously was sick, and she got.
Now you see, if it was me, bitch, I'm not getting paid to talk to you, and I just
and Marissa posted about it. And the woman called the police, and the police officer could not have been cooler about it. I remember how the police officer was just like, these people did nothing wrong. Let's try to get you some help, because the woman was obviously sick, and she deserved to be told you can't do what you're doing. When Marissa posted it, her post was, "This is Tim. We don't owe you a conversation." And what's so funny about it is like everyone else is like, "Oh, I can't believe she called the cops on that woman." But Marissa was like, "I can't believe she talked to another woman at the pool." Like, we're mad. She was mad before the cops got called. She was just mad that a stranger tried to talk to another woman. Like, you have a real thing with strangers.
It's really weird to me. That's how I feel about talking with men. I only make out for money.
So at the end of the day,
bitch better show me my money.
With all the
This pussy's so good, I shouldn't have to talk for free.
With all the issues in the universe, it all comes down to us as people. Like this is a blame podcast, so we gotta find people to blame.
Nice.
It's us.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, it's how we interact daily to daily. There's a lot of fucked up people. There's a lot of great people.
That's exactly.
But it comes down to how we interact.
George Carlin said something. One of my favorite quotes of Carlin is very similar to that. And I love this quote because it's the smartest thing I think he's ever, just the simplest, smartest thing that no one else says. Politicians are not bad. They're people.
Yes.
People are bad.
Yes.
Any person you put in that position is going to act badly. Same thing with cops. It's not about the position. It's not that evil people get the job. It's that this is a job that apparently people are really bad at.
Yes.
And he says it's not the politicians that suck. It's us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's when people say I hate politicians. I'm like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Because they're just the same as you in that position. You'd be just as fucking bad.
There's a dumb movie I really like. It's called Waking Life.
Love it.
Okay. There's a part in Waking Life where they do a before sunrise and sunset, whatever, with Ethan Hawke and the other girl.
Julie Delpy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there talking about the crossword puzzles, where they go, they gave 2 studies where they gave crossword puzzles of the day and they gave crossword puzzles of the day before. And the people that got the crossword puzzles of the day before, they solved them because it went on to the universe and it was solved. So with that, and then the other people that got the day, they didn't do as well. So the reason why I bring this up is because we all have the choice in how we react. The collective consciousness that we all have. We can choose. Like, this is what I hate, and this comes back to Trump or whatever. There's, like, especially in New York, I don't know how it is in some other places. I haven't been around enough. But in New York, there's so many people that are so upset, so depressed, so angry. They go out to a bar to have a drink in a very good atmosphere, and there's great music playing, but they're so upset because Trump is president. And it's like, but you don't have to be upset.
I disagree with that.
No, you don't know.
We're actually going to have to wrap this up.
I'll say
quickly.
this because there are
you don't have to be upset.
There are too many people actually suffering to make that argument today. And
Say
there are too many people who are
children that are
going.
in cages
too
right
many
now.
people who are
But
going
again, that's
to
our
suffer.
fault.
It is
That's
our
fault.
Not New York.
No.
We voted for Hillary.
But I mean, like, for example, our community. I can affect my community, and that's about the best I can do.
We
A
should.
lot of us think there's going to be this Jesus Christ, this fucking Superman that's going to save all of us.
That's
when it
who
comes
they
down
think
to
Trump
this-
is. They're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But it comes
Okay,
down to
so
when it
we
comes
gotta
down to
we gotta
city
go, we gotta
council. It comes down to
And you should vote. Yes.
local. That's what it comes down
Act
to.
locally. I
Your
agree.
local
Nothing,
outside.
nothing matters. It's all simulation. Make sure we have something to plug. Make sure we have something to plug our shit.
Okay, so speaking of plugs, I'm going to start with Wendy Starling. Where
Thank
can
you so
people see you, follow you on the interwebs?
Let's see. So my social media: Twitter at Wendy Starling, Instagram at WendyBird82. If you're watching live or listening live, I'm at New York Comedy Club tomorrow. I'm at Otto's first.
We'll
at
not be out by
6:30.
then.
Okay, great.
This is what after all your shows are over.
No, but guess what? Then guess what you can do when this comes out? This project that I'm launching Monday, August 6th, is called Priceless: Tales from the Underbelly, and it's a project I'm doing where I have collected stories from sex workers anonymously, and I am reading them and I'm releasing it. It's on Patreon. It's $5 a month for everything, but I'm releasing multiple stories a week.
Great job.
Tim
Look,
Warner.
Interesting. Everything I do is at I am Tim Warner, whether it's my .com, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever else. I'm doing a great show under St. Mark's Theater on August 12th. It's called DMT, Don't Mind Tim. I get belligerent, but it's basically Carson on acid. And I've got Melissa Diaz. I've got Tim Dillon from Netflix, Comedy Central, and I got Seton Smith from Jesus Conan. He's done Girls. He's done Mulaney, whatever else. But we do comics do 10 minutes, and then they sit on the couch with me for 10 minutes. It should be a good time.
sounds great. I don't have anything to plug. Yeah, nothing. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye! That was fun.
Thanks, Dave.
Good job, everyone. Oh, did you not go yet? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was last.
Oh shit.